Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Good morning, badass.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm feeling good. One, it's a Friday, and it is the Friday before spring break here in Georgia.
Ooh.
So Riley was super happy. She's like, oh, 4 more days, 3 more days. She's like counting down. So I came down today and I was like, today's the last day before spring break. She's like, yes.
Thank God.
How about you? How are you doing?
Good. I'm super good. I am. Spring break has come and passed here in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
So we are, getting into the groove again after some time off. There's going to be more snow next week, apparently. So it's not very springy, but it is what it is. And I'm really looking forward to today's topic. And I'm like reigniting my passion around, positive thinking. So
yes,
this conversation will do it. It'll light that fire.
Yes, I'm super excited about today's topic. Funny enough, if you remember, this is actually the law that sparked all of it. And so I came across, maybe it was relativity. I can't remember. It was either this one or the one of relativity. But these two resonated with me a lot. And this one I very much enjoy. The more I dug into it, I was like, this is so impactful for people. And so for me, this law out of all of them is really one of the best ones. I also love relativity, and we're going to get to that one. But today I'm super excited about today's topic.
I'm excited too. I agree. This one is kind of a summary. Like if you were going to only really embed one of these into your life, this would be the one to do it because it's also so connected to everything else. It's really like the foundational premise. I almost feel like we should have started with it when we were talking about like how to do all of these laws and but at the same time there was a really nice build up, that we had. So
yeah, and I do think that the law of rhythm leads into this one too.
And action, yeah.
And action, it does.
Right,
yeah.
Absolutely. So it all happens the way it's supposed to happen.
It does. Well, we have some people joining us. So as you guys are joining us, please say hello. I also have been noticing, even more lurkers lately. So people that are there and they'll say hello at the very, very end, or people that don't say hello, but they say something after the fact. We would just love to hear from you, even if it's just a hello and I'm from this location, or this is my first time joining us. Right. Just let us know those things. We just love to see new faces. I have.
Yeah, we see the numbers going up, but they don't necessarily correspond to.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to hear from you guys.
Yeah. So we have Myra coming in. She says, "Good morning, ladies. Hello from Tennessee. Hello, Miss Myra. I'm actually going to be seeing her. Well, I think you're going to be going to LA for graduation. So I'm going to be doing that in June, the beginning of June. So I'm hoping to see her and Carmen then.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we have Heather joining us. I've really enjoyed Heather. She's been commenting on some of my posts and just enjoying the energy with me. And so she says, good morning and happy Friday, badasses. So excited for this convo.
Agree. So excited. Heather, I'm really excited to get to know you better. So thank you for being here. And we're excited too.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out, I don't see it so far in the comments, on my computer, but I want to say it's probably Megan.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Yay, happy badass morning."
Good
So
morning, Megan.
hello, if that's Megan, hello. And then Karen's joining us. She said, "Good morning, ladies." Good morning, Karen. Karen,
morning.
she has some amazing videos. She's just being silly. I love that she's being authentic and just going out there and having fun as well. So connect with her if you haven't connected with her. She does some great videos.
Cool.
Is joining us. Hello, good morning. So good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Gail. She's such a badass too.
I know. And it's funny sometimes. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people don't realize how much of a badass they are. And Gail is one of those people for me. She's a badass. And I'm like, does she really realize how badass she actually is? And so,
I hope so.
I know, because just having worked with her and stuff like that, she's just really amazing. It was several years ago that I was like, oh, I really love this person. Like she can do shit. She gets it done.
It's awesome.
I know. J Rose, she said, "Good morning, badasses. Happy to see your happy and smiling faces. Good to see you too." She said, "Joy in the morning is what we all need. Thank you, BOYBAS. Sending sunshine from Florida. I'll be off and on and off today."
Hang in there, J Ro. I love you. You're gonna kick today's ass.
Yes, and we're sending you sunshine as well. And today's topic, if you can stay on and just hear parts of it, I think it's critical to everything going on just in the world and in people's lives. Bless you.
I know. I was like, I know I'm going to sneeze. Sarah sneezed right before we started, and it was a massive one.
When I sneeze, I sneeze.
So do I. So that's why I was afraid. I was like, okay.
Oh, don't hold back.
Yeah. Well.
And then Bryce is joining us. You're up early. He said morning to you both.
That's what I was going to say. Us. Hey, Bryce. Yeah, he's up early.
Yeah. Miss Kim's joining us. Good morning and happy Friday to my favorite beautiful badass ladies.
I love you,
morning,
Kim.
Miss Kim. Yes. Myra also said, "Yes, Sarah. See you at the graduation in California." That's awesome. All right. And then Heather said, "Oh, thank you. I'm excited to get to know you all better too." That's awesome. And then speaking of Carmen.
Here's another early riser too.
Yeah, she is. Good morning, my favorite beautiful badasses. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in June. We're getting those plans taken care of to head out there. And she said, "I received that. Thank you." And then Gail said, "I'm trying to." No, you're not trying. You're doing.
She's trying to embrace, I think.
Oh, yes. Well, there is no try, as Yoda says. There's no try. There's do.
You are.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us and saying hello. And so I'm looking forward to an interactive show. We want to hear from you guys today on today's topic. And so do we want to set the stage on sort of reminding people a little bit about the law of correspondence?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's important. In a lot of ways, it feels similar to other laws you may have heard of, or like especially the law of attraction. But it has a different foundation, and it is super important. So let's share a little bit more detail around what exactly it is.
By the way, Carmen said, "I can't wait. Party.
Oh my God. And she's such a little party animal. I really enjoyed meeting her at your birthday. And I was, wish
Carmen, I also have to share with you, because Carmen came in early for my birthday, by the way, and she was a part of like all the family photos. I was showing someone and they were like, "Oh, is this, like your sister?" And I just started laughing. I go, "Yeah, sort of."
Right.
So it was funny.
Yeah, completely.
All right. So just to remind you of the law of correspondence, this is what we had gone over at the beginning of introducing the 12 universal laws. So the law of correspondence is the popular quote from Emerald Tablets: as above, so below, which means that what happens in your mind is reflected in your outer world. And the law of correspondence shows us that your thoughts and feelings shape your reality. That is super important to remember as we go through today's conversation. And to change our outside world, we first have to change our inner mindset. And it's really about understanding that what you believe is what you will achieve related to your desires. And so I'm going to flip back over to us. So that's just a little bit of a reminder of what today's topic is about.
Yeah, and it's so much more than just, I mean, what you think about is super important, but it's like our thoughts that are there, like it's about every single way that you act, that you carry yourself, you know, that the energy that you let fill your mind and you know, fill everything that you are. Like it's super important.
Yeah. And we talk about in that particular law, as above, so below, but there's additional aspects to it as well. There's also as within, so without, which is also important. So when we think about those things, so as above, so below, what that means is we have our micro and then we have our macro. So it's like the outer world and the inner world of things. And so it just means that our inner world, what we think and feel, is connected to our outer world. So what it is that we see is what we believe inside is also what's going to happen in the outer world. So what we see and experience. And so also when you think about as within, so without, what you believe you have in your life is what you will have in the outer world. And if you believe without, like I'm without, or I don't have these types of things, the world will continue to show you those things as well.
Yeah. And I find it sneaking up on me in every single fucking way. So it's you know, so, and this is some of the things I want to share, because when I conquer it, it makes a huge difference. So like, let's say it's just something really minor, like, oh crap, I forgot to do that. Darn it, I'm worried about that. Okay, you know, like those little micro negative thoughts.
Yeah.
If I am able to recognize them immediately and say, well, no worries, I'll put it on the to-do list and I'll get it done, you know, and not carry it with me. And it's something that's so minor, right?
Yeah.
It's like something that everyone does, like, oh crap, I forgot that. Of course, your natural instinct is to like feel bad, right? Like,
yep.
Shoot, you know, and it just makes such a massive difference, you know, like when I'm successful in switching that almost immediately, it gets done faster. I'm happier. There's no baggage around it. There's no shame around it. And it's so minuscule. That's the thing that I really want to get people to understand, is that this is tiny, right? It's really small, but it makes such a big impact.
Yeah. So when you think about this particular law, think of it also related to your thinking patterns. And that's what Cate is really talking about. If you think negativity about yourself, if you are noticing negative experiences in your daily life, it's switching and finding a different way to think about those things that impact you. And this is super important right now in the world with all of the negativity and all of the things that are happening. If we instead go, okay, this stuff is happening, how else can I look at these types of things? And then also think about relationships. So how we treat ourselves often also reflects how we treat others. So if we're kind to ourselves, then we're also more kind to others. And so as we look at the things that we do on a daily basis, when we feel like oh my gosh, all this negativity is happening to us, start to rethink, like, are you bringing on this in some ways because you're thinking negative about your life, about your relationships, about the circumstances that are going on? And so I
Yeah.
don't know if everybody has sort of noticed, I am fine, because of everything that is happening in the world. Yes, we need to focus on things that are related to focusing on freedom, justice, those types of things. And we also need to focus on how it is we influence our lives and the lives of others that are around us as well.
Absolutely. It's and there are so many really important figures in history that have done this, and that we can talk about, and kind of proof of this. There's also a ton of science behind this, just like all of these laws, but there's quantum physics that literally proves this. Then there's also connections to like our deepest traditions, right? So, or some of our deepest, foundational, like, cultural things. So, like, the Bible, for instance, the law of correspondence is in the Bible, and that which kind of got me to thinking about who we are as a human race, and like what our beginnings were. And Karen said, our minds are wired for survival, and to show us loss, so that awareness is so key. And I think what she's referring to is, like, when you think back to humans in the caveman days, we had to protect ourselves at all times. That is what we were here for, right? And even if you believe that a higher power created us, or whatever, but like, when you think about the environment we were in as humans, we had to survive. And it wasn't just for a little bit, it was for centuries upon centuries, right? So that is embedded in like our DNA. That's embedded in who we are. So it's a great gift that we are at the point in our human existence that we are understanding that we can change things around us by changing that very thing inside of us, right?
Yeah. I want to call out a couple of people that have joined us. So Nervy Driver, morning from the beach. And so hope you have a great trip with
right?
Carrie. Yeah. With Carrie at the beach. And so
tell Carrie we said hi, please.
Yeah. Good to see you. Karen also said obsessed with this topic, by the way. And Heather said, yes, change your outlook to change your life. And then Jennifer Lacey's joining us. She says, good morning and happy Friday.
Good morning, Jennifer.
So I want to go over a couple more comments, and then I want to ask a question to everyone to get us thinking. So when I get hit with things that are unexpected, or just I have bad luck, I used to say, of course that happened to me. Ooh, how many of us have said that?
Like,
of course that happened to me.
Luck. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have changed my response to simply interesting. Okay. Huge difference.
Yeah. Huge difference. Like, just observe it, because this is key. This is really key, because we can't just ignore the negative stuff completely. Like, that's asinine. And it also like causes other problems, right? Like if you just push it down.
Yep.
But you can change your mindset to be curious about it, or to observe it, or to just find it interesting, right? To just say like, oh, okay, I observed this ridiculously horrible thing just happened.
Yes.
And I'm going to observe it, because if I let myself go deep into this negative spiral around it, I'm going to create negativity around me. And that's, not what I want. Yeah.
And it's important to understand that we're going to have emotions. We're going to have those like, what the fuck,
Right.
Like I had one yesterday that I went through. I went through the emotion. I like talked it out. And then I was like, all right. So half of it is like coming back down and looking at it objectively, observing, and then also applying, like, how is it that I want to be treated? Okay, well, I need to treat this person how it is that I would want to be treated as well. And so when we are starting to reflect and observe, and we treat others the way we want to be treated, we'll notice a shift in how it is that people respond. So we really do have a lot of control in how it is that people potentially come back to us based on the energy that we go to them at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had this happen earlier this week too. You can't control your emotional reaction, your immediate emotional reaction. So your feelings can be hurt and you can feel offended. The power is in what you do in those next moments.
Yes.
Right. So when you say to yourself, okay, did this person really intend to hurt me? Most likely not. And is it okay to be hurt? Sure. It's okay to be hurt. Yeah. But had I been able to see in that moment that something else was happening for them and this was happening for them, and I was in this space, which led me to be more vulnerable, whatever it was, when I can use my tools and wrap myself around that emotion and really come to like a truth around it and accept it, observe it, and move on, I'm so much happier and it's so much more successful, right? But it's all of that. It's all of that. And on top of it, it's work. It's mental work that you have to do. But I promise you, you're expending mental energy anyway. You're putting in so much fucking work regardless, because your brain never stops, right? So make the work for you instead of just letting it happen.
Yep.
There's so many good comments.
Yeah. Jennifer Lacey said, one of the filters I have focused on is assume positive intent. Yes. This allows me to not get pulled into a negative space. I may be wrong, but it gives me the strength to influence my next steps.
Absolutely. Especially the people that you work with, that you love. If something goes wrong, one of my biggest things is to say, well, they didn't mean to do this. They didn't mean to hurt me. Their intent wasn't, maybe they did, but it probably wasn't their intent.
Yeah. And then Lisa's joining us. Hello, Lisa. So good to see you. She has something coming up. I think it's this Saturday at 8 p.m. And so, Lisa, let us know what you have coming up as well.
She's on Soul Man Live with Aaron Gibson.
Yes, that's what it was. I couldn't remember.
I saw that and I was like, ooh, cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Cate alluded to this a little bit in some things that we wanted to share with you. So we want to show you some examples of how the body is influenced, and it's done through looking at the impact of water. And then we want to get into some examples of people as well, and the things that they've dealt with that exemplify the law of correspondence. So I'm going to bring this up. So one of the things to understand is they did studies of the impact of our words, and they took a picture of water, then they took a picture of water after they did different things. And so you'll notice that talking to water, they just said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you'll notice it looks like a snowflake. And then they gave love and gratitude. Then they gave harmony. And then if you look at the top ones, they talked to it and were like, you disgust me, and then the other one's like, you're such a fool. And it's like, oh, you're so evil. So looking at these types of things, the reason that this is important is that we are made of 70% water in our bodies. So think about the things that you're telling yourself each day. So that's why affirmations actually are super important. The things that you say to yourself, you are programming your body. You are programming that water that is within you and your mind that is within you. And so I loved this little scientific thing that they did. And they've done like all kinds of things. They did like heavy metal and how it is that it showed. They, they talked to it about Hitler and what it is Hitler did to look at how the water changed. And so they did experiments with different things. And it was just fascinating to watch the water molecules change to these different shapes. And the ones that were about love and harmony and gratitude and things like that were beautiful. And the things that were ugly and hateful showed up as hateful.
Yeah, it's so cool. That is the science that I was alluding to.
Yes. Thank you for that, Margaret.
Yeah. Yep. So go look that up. Dr. Emoto's water experiment. Go look it up because it is really cool. And it's a great lesson for everyone. But definitely show the young people in your lives, right? Let's get them to start embracing this earlier so they aren't trying to change the habits of thinking, when they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, right?
Yeah.
But how cool is that if you, and there's studies around plants, there's studies around all sorts of things that we just take for granted. We don't think about the molecular combination that creates that substance, right?
Mm-hmm.
People know that water is H2O, but they don't think about the fact that those energies and those molecules, they literally move, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible to change the energy that is happening within those molecules, and the words and the thoughts and the energy around those words actually makes an impact.
Well, and it made a lot of sense. I talked to my sister about this as well. And when you think about praying before you eat, that is also related to that. So my sister said that she will say things to her food before she eats it because it's nourishing the food in a lot of ways. It's saying positive things to the food that is about to nourish you. And it made me reflect upon prayer before meals in a different way. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So maybe that was the tradition, was because they understood what it is you're about to ingest. You're wishing it well, which instead is also nourishing, they talked about nourishing your body. And so these types of scientific things sort of prove that. And they even show like talking to plants or talking to, even animals and talking to your baby before your baby comes out and all of these types of things. So our words are so much more powerful. And the inner thoughts that we have are so much more powerful than I think people realize.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, and I break this down all the time into, little small examples because it just helps me wrap my mind around it. Right. So like, there's a reason why when you're calming down a baby, you don't, say, shut up, please shut up. Shut up. You don't say that. You're right. Like, well, everything's okay, calm, and your voice, everything is a calming thing, right? But are we doing that to ourselves? No, inside our heads, we're quite mean a lot of times. We're like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Don't say that again. Jesus, shut up. Like inside your head, you might be that during a meeting or during a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And like, you wouldn't treat anyone else that way. Don't treat yourself that way. And it's okay if that's your instinct, but combat it. And then just like anything else, if you practice that, if you practice being nicer to yourself and work on those thoughts, it becomes a habit, it becomes easier, it becomes you can actually change your instinct.
Yeah. And so it looks like Divine is here as well. She said, in spiritual context, murky or muddy water often symbolizes confusion, hidden emotions, or a need for purification and clarity. It can represent a period of emotional turmoil or uncertainty. And she said, we are a book of memories, also known as the Akashic Records, unconscious and conscious. And so I love that as well. I want to get into the 369 here in a minute.
Mhm.
I want to ask a question for the audience first. So
Yeah.
our question for you is, what lessons from your past experiences can guide you in understanding current situations? And so we want you to reflect upon past things that you've done and how it is that those things also impact your current situation. And the reason we think that this is important is that if you're noticing that there are things that are happening again and again, what is it that continues to happen from your past that you're continuing to see and reflect in your current situations? And so, and then we'll talk a little bit about connecting the dots there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
Do you want to talk about the 369?
yeah. So there's this principle out there that if you want to change something, or if you want to embody a more positive outlook, that you can do so with like affirmation statements, or some type of a mantra. And one of the easiest ways to do it that doesn't take a lot of time is that you make these statements throughout the day to yourself. So in the morning you should say them, and I'm going to throw another one in, you should write them. Mm-hmm. So you write in the morning your sentiment or your statement, 3 times. Then in midday you do it 6 times, and in the evening you do it 9 times. And it is powerful to say it to yourself in the mirror and to write it. So 369.
Yep, 369. And this is actually something that I'm starting to do. So I'm focused on something in my life that I am working on having become my future. And so I am focused on 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times. And what they find is you will start to find synchronicities that will happen in your life. So, for example, if you're needing a resource to come into your life, all of a sudden that resource will appear. The universe will start to bring it because it's saying, this is what I need. You may not be the person that can do these things, but the universe will start to bring you these resources and these individuals that can help you to accomplish what it is that you're needing. So you'll start to see synchronicity in your life. So think about people that are coming into your life. Think about the purpose that they're then playing, or are you recognizing that they're coming to you in your life? Are you avoiding them? Are you pushing them away, or are you accepting them? Because that's also, it requires us to acknowledge and go, oh, okay, well, maybe this is the person that's supposed to be helping me with XYZ. But are you then ignoring them? Are you pushing them away because you're not really ready internally? You're asking for it, but you also have to take action as well to go down the path to see how this person can also help you. That's one of the things I've also noticed. A part of manifesting is people will manifest things and things will come to them, but then they don't actually, they continue to push it because they think, oh, it's supposed to come in a different way, or I want it in a different way. So think about those things as well.
Yeah, you have to be constantly open to the possibilities. Mm-hmm. That's the way, to think about it. So okay, I'll tell you a quick story about something that Jenna just experienced. She had been having this pain in the back of her shoulder, and so she wanted to go see her masseuse. So she scheduled the appointment, which was like, maybe she scheduled it like 3 weeks ago or something. recently she'd been having this other pain on the other side of her body. And then it got significantly worse as something happened in our lives, and she was dealing with trying to figure out why she had such an emotional reaction to something. And she was really focusing hard on like, okay, where is this coming from? Because Jenna's a healer. So she knows, she has a lot of tools in her back pocket to kind of really dig in and figure out, okay, what is this? Why is this bothering me so much? Yeah. So her thought, and this relates to the question, she was like, there has to be a past experience that I need to learn from, that I need to do something differently about. Right. Yeah. And she couldn't discover it. And she was a little frustrated by that, because she's like, I'm good at this. Why am I not discovering this? But she went, she was like, okay, I'm just going to embrace it, go along with my business. She goes to see the masseuse, and her name is Tracy, and Tracy's working on that spot on her left shoulder that bothers her, or her right shoulder that bothers her. And then Jenna was talking about the spot that had been bothering her and had gotten worse, and especially worse as she was kind of processing this stuff. And I won't go into the extreme details, but basically they were able to heal it together. And it was kind of like a miracle. And one of the most amazing parts about this is that she didn't go there with that in mind at all. She went there so she could sleep better, and as she was open to healing pains and other things that were happening in her body, it came forward that she was holding on to something. And although she didn't know what it was, she couldn't pinpoint it. It was still there, and it needed to be released. And they did the work to release it. They literally felt the energy releasing, and the pain is gone. And it's just an example of the intention and the energy that you put out. I mean, they really focused on, we're going to get rid of this in this moment. We're going to get rid of this pain. We're going to use all of our powers to get rid of it. But there's so many things there in that story. Like, had she not been open to the opportunity to do that, had she not wanted to stay, been okay to stay later to do it, and all sorts of things. So,
and I think it's also important to understand that sometimes we can get rid of things like that. I also find they have a spiritual meaning as well when we have pain. So sometimes we'll be able to get rid of them, but notice if it comes back as well. And if it comes back, there's still something there to deal with. So I actually looked up, did you say it was her right shoulder?
So it was, I can't remember. It was her left arm that was the most recent pain. And that is when you're holding on to something from the past.
Okay.
So that was very definitive. And then her right back shoulder.
Yeah.
Is where she has this pain that comes back and forth.
So I tend to do a search for whatever the pain is and say spiritual meaning in Google. And then I look for things. So one of the things that said is questions to ask your right shoulder. It says, is there something you've been trying that just isn't working? Have you been pushing yourself despite signals from your body that you need to rest? Have you been trying to figure out something that doesn't have a solution? And have you been trying to control something that can't be controlled, like a person or a relationship? Yeah. So I tend to find if I go, and then your body will feel what resonates with you. Like, notice your body when you read these things, and it'll tell you like, oh, I can feel
that's
it.
it.
It's not the thinking, it's the feeling, like, ooh, I feel that in me, and that's something I need to pay attention to. So I always do a Google search of whatever it is and say spiritual meaning. And I also have a huge book where I'm able to look at those types of things as well. But I wanted to give people a tool that when you're, so whenever I meditate, I will look to see like where I have pain in my body. And I'll just observe, and then I'll go look up. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling something in my right knee. Well, what does that mean? So our bodies will show us the signs of the things we need to deal with. And it's that outer world, the inner things that we need to deal with that are impacting us in the outer world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why, they were focusing on like that's something from the past, like you're holding on to. So,
and this is why I agree with
yes,
this. This is why a positive mindset is not enough. I agree,
it's
because a
deeper than
lot of
that.
people, yes,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
so much
important
deeper.
to do the affirmations. You also have to understand where this energy is coming from and where there may be stuck energy. And then there are people that can help you to understand those types of things. Sometimes it's related to your ancestors. So it may not have anything to do with you. It might have to do with ancestry, energy that needs to be let go. Sometimes it is related to you. Sometimes, it is things you're holding on to that you didn't even realize impacted you as a child,
Right.
that you're still holding on to. But the biggest thing I ask myself is, when I feel something, when was the first time I felt that way? And a lot of times it has to do with that child experience that impacted you, that you still have not let go of as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's super interesting. Like this shoulder pain that Jenna's had, right on the spot, on the physical body, there is a large birthmark. And so
Ooh,
we really do
past life.
believe it's a past life thing,
And I don't
that,
know if maybe let's give some context for people. So one of the things that I've heard or learned, and whether this is true or not, is that birthmarks have to do with our past life. And I've even heard that it's a past life and how you died. I don't know whether that's true or not. But that the birthmarks have to, and I have 2 birthmarks, by the way. One has disappeared now, which is interesting. I don't know what the significance of that is, but I have a tiny one on my left thigh, and I had another one that was on my right thigh. Jay has a reverse one. He has one that becomes white when he gets really hot on his chest. It almost looks like someone shot him, like with like a gun, like the way it splatters.
wow.
So I don't know. And then I think he has another one as well. So if anybody knows about those, like the meanings of birthmarks and reverse birthmarks and having multiple and them disappearing.
Yeah. I have something very interesting that happens all over my body. I get these little spots that have multiple dots in them. They like a pattern, and they show up all over, and then they disappear after a couple months. It's very, very strange, and it's kind of cool. And I'm going to do some energy work around it to try to figure out what it is, only because I'm just so insanely interested. Like it's not they don't cause me pain. They don't do anything. They're just like, and you can't see it very well. Maybe with a picture close up, but it's very cool. But so, I think one of the main points is that we're trying to get through here is that it isn't just a positive outlook. It isn't just saying things that make you feel better. It isn't just, connecting to your body and understanding that it can hold on to things. It's all of those things. It's all of it. And so as you get good at one aspect of that, then turn your attention to another aspect of that, and don't give up, because the more that you focus on truly living a life of what is within is also without, it will make such a huge impact on your life. It will create the world that you want to be in. So let's see. Did anyone answer our question?
I think so. So I also want to pull this up. So many people have chronic pain that has very little to do with the physical body. Our emotions cause physical pain when we don't deal with them. I have to tell you, when we first started BOYBAS, I said something like this at the very beginning, and I had a friend in my neighborhood that was like, she was like, sorry, Sarah, like, no, like that's just, no, no, people have pain because of physical things or things like that. I've noticed a shift. Now she's like, oh, and now all of a sudden she's like, oh, I get what you're talking about now. But it took multiple years. Like, when I think back on us first starting to have these types of conversations with people are like, what are you talking about? Like, people have things in their body and that's what causes them. And emotions weren't even a thing in their mindset that could cause physical things. And I've noticed a huge shift in the world of people recognizing that fact in the last several years.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the power of prayer and positive intent helps. All sorts of things are there if you look around. So like I have found that the same people that sometimes believe in one thing will also believe in another. And if they allow themselves to transcend those areas, they would realize that it is one and the same, right?
Yeah. So here's some comments related to our question. Divine said, I learned the brain requires safety to build a foundation, especially a new foundation. I think that's huge. And then sort of along those lines, Margaret said, past things bring resilience.
Absolutely.
Then Heather said, changing the tone of our inner monologue, how you talk to yourself is a serious game changer. It made a huge difference in my life, and I now speak positively to myself.
Yeah. J. Rose said something else. I'm going to grab it.
Yeah.
She said, yes, you must take care of you because you're the only one who has been there for you every second of every day of your life, every joy, every heartache. Your best friend is you.
Love that. Yep. And then wisdom was just talking about the 3 mind creation, 6 body foundation, and 9 the wisdom applied for completion. So she's talking about numerology. So 3 is about creation in life, mind creation. 6 is about the foundation and related to the body. And 9 is the wisdom applied for completion. So the 9-month symbolism for birthing something new. So having a baby, it takes 9 months to then have a completion of that creation.
Yeah.
Think about that on your own life.
Yeah.
So think about how long it takes to start with creation and then the building of things. And so think about, and even though it may not be 3, 6, 9, it could be a combination of those. So if it took 6 months, then double maybe the next one. I'm thinking out loud. I'm connecting maybe some dots of how long it sort of sometimes takes things, and it might take even longer, but it might be the taking those numbers and then multiplying them.
Yeah. Like, and seeing if there's a pattern there would be helpful to understand. I like the doing things a certain number of times for a variety of reasons, because there is numerology to bring it up. There is, but I also just like the symbolism and like the aspects of like bringing a little bit of formality into something that you are putting your energy into, So like Jenna always says, it's all about intention, So like whether you are, a witch and you want to cast spells, or, or whether you, are a yogi and you want to spread some healing and namaste type feelings to your class. It's about intention. But for me, when I wrap a little bit of formality around the intention, it becomes more important, which I think is why we have religions and we have spirituality, and people love a tradition, right? So I think about that too. And it doesn't have to be, something everyone does, but it has to be important and to you.
Yeah. So adding the formality to things. And I do think that that's very important from an intention perspective. So that's why when we think about like vision boards, for example, a lot of people have to physically see a vision board to, envision stuff. I do have to say that one of the things I heard from Oprah, for example, is that she doesn't feel like she has to do vision boards anymore. Like she visually sees those things. And I do find for myself in a lot of ways, I will write out things. So I visually will at least see like the words, but in a lot of ways I'm envisioning things already in my mind, and I'm seeing how it is that they're going to play out. And it has been super powerful to do that. And I've done things that a lot of people, wouldn't think are possible. And a lot of it is also understanding when to be in action. So the law of action that we talked about, and then also recognizing the patterns of when you are observing and understanding when you're reaching a block or an obstacle, being able to be in a place of observing and saying, okay, well, let me observe a little bit and see like what more information am I supposed to gather or deal with or learn a part of this as well. So a part of manifesting is not just expecting it to happen. There's lessons along the way. And then once you get there, you're like, oh, wow. Like it's amazing to then see the end result once you get there. But sometimes we can be so impatient with the process.
Yeah, there's something there that you said that is important. So it's not expecting it to happen. It's believing it will happen. Mm-hmm. So like you believe it's going to happen because you're going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Not just by like sheer dedication to it, because a lot of times the things you want involve so many things that are beyond your control, right? Yeah. But if you maintain this belief that it is going to happen, and that allows you to detach from the expectations of how it will happen. And that becomes really important. So
key, say that again. You detach from the expectation of how it will happen.
Exactly. If you have that strong belief that it will happen, that allows you to detach from your expectations of how it will happen.
I love that. I think that is so key. And releasing has really helped me to have things happen. I'm like, okay, well, what do you envision? All right, help me understand. We're at a crossroads here. So I'm going to release, like, okay, so where do you see things happening?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, let's talk about some examples.
Yes.
So we have one in particular that I think is an amazing example of an individual that showed a switch in their mindset. They had a goal, or they had something that they wanted to happen. Very historical person in life. So Nelson Mandela is an excellent example of the law of correspondence. And his actions that he took, he believed he wanted equality, he wanted freedom, he wanted justice. So there was a whole, as they were dealing with things in Africa or in South Africa with the apartheid, a lot of the things that he could have done in a very revengeful way. Because think about things that are happening in your life. And a lot of times you want to be revengeful. Like, I want to, these people have been this way to me. They need to, feel the wrath of what it is that they've made me feel.
Well, right. They were being held down. They were being oppressed.
Yes.
And one of the most, I think, impactful, or like one of the most, I don't know what it is, but when you're being oppressed, you want to fight back. You want to push back. You want to say, this is not justice. Mm-hmm. I deserve more. And, it's a very natural thing to want to seek that revenge. Right. Mm-hmm. So that is exactly what the position that Nelson Mandela was in. They were being oppressed. And
they were considered basically, dehumanized, and you are less than, you are kept separate. You are not allowed to vote. You are not allowed to have any say. You have to live in a separate place. We're, going to give you the worst conditions ever. I mean, that's what they were dealing with. And so as they were going through, what he looked at doing is doing things. And I also look at MLK, for example, and many of the people during civil rights in the peaceful protest and the things that they did, and they did resistance. So think about, the things that are even happening right now and how it is people are resisting. There are some people that are resisting peacefully, and there are some people that are resisting in violence. But when you look at those things, if you're wanting peace, if you're wanting a better life and a better world, if you demonstrate it in the other way, that's what you're going to continue to get. So if I'm just going to put it out there, if you're burning Teslas, you're burning down what it is you want actually in life. If you do things by not supporting them, by not purchasing things from them, and letting them understand that I'm not going to support you, you're doing it in a peaceful protest, in a resistance way, but making a point. And that is ultimately what Nelson Mandela did. He ended up, even though he was incarcerated and imprisoned, he continued to show strength. And when you think about the things that are happening, it was the global aspect. People then recognized these things, and they started to take action for him while he was in prison. And it was because of the way, the strength and the inner strength that he showed, and the influence on the things that he did. He fought against those things, but he showed in his inner value of justice and equality, and also treated other people with peaceful resistance and negotiated with them, but in a way of harmony rather than revenge. And so think about the things in your life and the things you're dealing with. And yes, there are so many things right now that are like unjust. You're like, what the fuck? Like, you really want to, like, from an emotional perspective, get very upset at some of these things. But if we want in life peace and harmony, and we want people to respect us, we must also demonstrate that to other people, because that's the only way that it's going to come back to us.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So starting a dumpster fire is still a fire. It's still super negative. It's still destructive, right? But sitting around a contained fire and seeing the beauty in it and singing Kumbaya and having a peaceful moment, like, just think about the differences in those, right? And sure, we can all be attracted to a dumpster fire, like, it is fun, in a way, but is it how we want the world to be? Do we want the world to be full of dumpster fires, or would we rather see the world be full of these beautiful, beautiful fires with people reflecting on how wonderful they are and how much they love each other? And, like, of course you want that, right? And that's the focus. That's where you need to draw your energy to. So be the Nelson Mandela, not the Hitler, or not the really aggressive version or violent version of that, right?
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that I continue to look at, is that when we look at ourselves and when we look at leaders in our lives, when we want certain things in life, we are choosing based on our leaders also what we want in our life. So when we have people that, like Hitler, for example, that dehumanizes people, and think about the leaders that we have currently, think about the things that they're doing as well. And when we are dealing with people that aren't reflective, are dehumanizing people, and we're supporting those efforts, is that really what we want in our life? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe that is, your mindset. I don't know. But for me, I want leaders that are going to look at things and be reflective. One of the things I always had an issue with politics is the flip-flopping. Like, flip-flopping is not a bad thing. Flip-flopping is I'm reflective and I'm reevaluating what it is that I'm thinking. And so if we want reflective leaders, we need to find reflective leaders that also are willing to call themselves out on things that maybe they could have done a better job at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the means to the end, right? So there's so many people that are focused on, a better economy, and that focus is great, but they're allowing any means necessary to get there,
Right.
any means. And the difference between, I just said that you don't want to be attached to how, you want to be attached to the result, but the how still carries some energy, right? So if you're doing that how, or if that how is happening in a really negative way, which is perfect for J. Rowe's statement now.
Yep.
That's what's going to be around us all.
Yeah. The statement, revenge is hate, justice is love, highlights the difference between seeking retribution and pursuing fairness. Revenge, harm, personal emotions, justice, restore balance and fairness. Yep. And, and how we go about those things are important as well. In how it is that we act as people. It was funny. I was having this conversation back and forth with someone today, and I thought that they were I was like, oh, I think I'm going to be able to actually have a conversation with someone, and they're going to be observant with things. And then, as I continued on, I was reflecting on my statements. And then whenever I'd ask them a question, they started to avoid it. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. Like, they're not wanting to be reflective about the situation. And then it started to, become, well, I bet you blah, 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 that type of thing. And I was just like, okay, sorry. I thought you were going to be able to be reflective. Like, let me know if you're willing to do that. Otherwise, this doesn't seem to be worth, the conversation. And so,
Right.
So I think that, and I'm constantly having to remind myself of these types of things, because we can get caught up in the emotion of the moment of things. But I just continue to remind myself how it is I'm acting, the things that I'm doing, the things I'm saying. Are they, yes, we need to point things out that are unjust and don't make sense. Are we also observing and reflecting the other points that people are making? And are we doing it also in a way that we can try to reflect and observe each other's points?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what the law of correspondence is. At the end of the day, it is about making sure that we reflect what we want out in the world. And it's deep, it's body deep, it's physical deep, it's in your bones, it's in your soul, it's in your thoughts, it's everywhere. It's everywhere that you can contain and control, like within yourself. But that's how you create the environment around you.
Yes. And so what you really emphasized is the importance of self-reflection. So the law of correspondence is not just about the actions that you do to think how you rethink about things, but it's also about the self-reflection. And so by looking at our thoughts and our feelings, we can really understand why certain things happen in our lives. And this really, can help us to make positive changes to improve our experiences in life. And I'll give you an example of this. I've been so caught up in sometimes some of the political stuff that's been happening lately. And I was like, you know what? Like, there were certain things that happened and I was like, I'm going to have fun. So I started posting, some of my fun videos and things like that. And the way that it impacted me throughout the day was really amazing. Like, I just had this different energy about me throughout the day, and the way it is that I was looking at things in my life. And so the things that we do for ourselves that really set the stage, and Cate and I were talking about, that's why this Fridays for us are so important, because we're being reflective, we're engaging with people, we're having deep conversations. This is for me like the best. Like, I love fucking deep conversations, and I love that I'm finding and building a community of people that want deep conversations as well.
Yep, absolutely. And it makes an impact, on the rest of our moments, but it like all things, we can't change things that we don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be observant, we have to be reflective, we have to open up our awareness, because otherwise it's just tolerance. You're just letting it happen to you, right? Yep. So
yeah. So how do we apply the law? We apply it by what you said. We observe. We notice if there's a pattern in our life and something that we are trying to understand. Like, why is this keep happening, or why is this happening in life? So then, if we're facing that similar challenge again and again, we think about what beliefs we may have related to that. And then if we want to change that experience, we have to focus on trying to change our thoughts and feelings around what that is.
Right, because that's what a belief is, right? It's a belief boils down to your thoughts and your feelings around something, right? So if you're going to change the way you believe, you have to break that down and change the way things make you feel and change the way you think about things. And that's how you will address it. And then as soon as you start believing in the things that are right for you, and be open to however they're going to manifest themselves, then you are living by the law of correspondence, and you are creating an environment around you that is exactly what is best for you.
Yeah. Well, I love this conversation. I want to maybe end things with a question for people to reflect upon. So we're going to be having, I think next week, we're going to be bringing on a guest speaker. And then the following week, Cate and I are going to be talking about the law of correspondence ourselves and things that we've seen in our own life, and giving deeper examples of how it is that we've dealt with things. And then we're going to be having guest panelists on for the fourth week. I can tell you, I'm still looking for, we try to have a female and a male. I'm actually still looking for a male individual to come on as a panelist for the 25th. I've had a couple that we ended up having some conflicts and things like that. So if you know of a male that would be a good person to bring on that would talk about the law of correspondence, we are looking for a panelist on the 25th. And then next week for the law of correspondence, we're going to be bringing on Colleen Seringer. So Dr. Colleen Seringer is going to be the person that we're going to be interviewing next week. So be sure to join that. So any other thoughts before I sort of pose the question?
Yeah, it was like law of correspondence all month. So I think let's kick off the month with, this conversation we had today, but something to think about and come back to us with. So yeah, what is the question?
Yes. So what steps can I take to align my internal mindset with my external outcomes I desire? And so if we take a moment to document what our external outcomes are, what it is we desire, and write those down, like, this is what I'm looking for. I would love to have people come back and put what it is that they're thinking about.
Yeah, I'm going to take this on as well, and I'm going to maybe talk a tiny bit about it next week, but not get into it too much because we do have a guest. But then I'm going to talk about this when we do our next episode after Dr. Colleen Seringer. We're going to have an episode where we get vulnerable and talk about our own lives. I'm going to dig deep on this, and give you guys some juicy inside information about how I'm handling this right now in my life.
Yeah. And then I would like to task people with trying the 3-6-9.
Yeah.
So once you write down what the external outcome is that you desire, try doing the 3 times in the morning, writing it, saying it, doing it 6 times in the afternoon, and then 9 times in the evening before you go to bed. And then think about the other things that need to happen internally from a mindset perspective to align to having those things happen. And sometimes it's also the actions you need to take as well.
Absolutely. Okay. I love you. I love this conversation. I love our audience so much. I love the way that you guys engage with us and share your knowledge and hype us up around the topics. I really appreciate it. And I am psyched to hear about what you all want to create and how you're going to leverage the law of correspondence.
Yes. Everybody have an amazing weekend. And I will be on location next week. So I'll be down at the beach for the next time that we meet, that we're going to be doing our interview. So everybody have an amazing Friday and have a kick-ass Monday. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday.
Woo! Thank you.